Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Silhouette Arms deck profile for post-Clash of the Heroes. This is one of the new decks we received in the latest Cardfight Vanguard booster set. Clash of the Heroes gives us two decks from the Youthquake series. We already did the Mythiarch deck. Now we have the Silhouette Arms deck, which focuses on using different units on the field as basically arms like you would with the Buff Saga deck in a very similar method with our main Vanguard Gigantic Arms silhouette here, utilizing them as actual rear guards on the field though, and not just, cards like orders you would equip onto this card. That's the one variation with this deck and the arms that we equip onto it, using those units attached to this unit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck. For the ride deck, our starter is Silhouette Man. When wrote upon, if you went second, draw a card. Standard for the ride deck for it, our grade 1 is Garter Silhouette. With this one, when this unit is replaced by riding from Silhouette Man, search your deck for up to one Machinery's Factory, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So the Machinery's Factory is our set order that we run in the deck. Very useful for the setup, which we'll get to when we go over the orders, with our grade 2 being our Caesar Silhouette, or Kaiser, however you want to pronounce it. When this unit is rode upon by Gigantic Arm Silhouette, choose up to 2 cards with armed arms and their different card names from your drop zone and call them to open rear guards. So it's more setup if you had to use the arms for the discard cost for your ride deck to then go into your grade 3 Gigantic Arms Silhouette. You have the one additional copy in your ride deck, but as for the additional copies, since it is still a D format deck, very similar to the other builds, we have the 3 copies of Gigantic Arms Silhouette as well. And the Vanguard Circle, once per turn at the beginning of your attack step, you Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 of your rear guards with armed arms and each of their different card names, and attach them to this unit. Move the attached units to the Vanguard Circle as stood. They cannot attack. The attached units get their power and abilities continuously, and they are moved to rear guard at rest at the end of the turn. So you reset those cards up as rest on the rear guard at the end of the turn. And it's the beginning of the attack step, so it's when the Gigantic Arms Silhouette attacks. And at the end of the battle of this unit attack, choose up to 1 of your units attached to this card and move it to an open rear guard as stood. So you at least have an option to then move 1 additional arms that we have on this card as another rear guard to attack with, which makes use of some of the other cards we run on the deck. For the grade 2, or our armed units that we run, 4 copies of Armed Arms L on Vanguard or rear guard. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Silhouette and its card name, you can plus 1 and draw a card. So it always gains the ability while on the Vanguard Circle, while attached onto Gigantic Arms Silhouette. That's the main playstyle that this card is meant to do. And also having that option for the rear guard as well just gives you the additional counterblast draw power from it also. It will eat up counterblast pretty quickly, so you have to remember that. And also the 4 copies of Armed Arms are on Vanguard or rear guard. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Silhouette and its card name, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. And this unit gets plus 5 until the end of that battle. An additional power boost while you have the draw power thanks to Arm L, and then the retire power thanks to Arm R. You have both options available to you, but they do eat up counterblasts, so you just have to know when to use them correctly against your opponent. For the last of the grade 2s, I'm also running 4 copies of the new Versatile Assembler. When placed on rear guard, you Soul Blast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 set order from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So our Machinery's Factory is a set order, so very useful for the search power of this card and the other set orders we are running. And when your other unit is placed on rear guard by a card's ability, this unit gets boost until end of turn, adding a little more added backup to some of the other cards we run in the deck, for this card being able to be a grade 2, placed in the back row, but still be used as an additional boost power. And for the grade 1s, I am running the 4 copies of Detonation Mutant Bauble Mine, along with the Soul Blast power, some of the other cards in the deck. We do counterblast a lot in this deck also, so we just need answers for that counterblasting. So I find 4 Bauble Mine to definitely be necessary. It builds up your soul, but at the end of the battle, this unit boosted if your Aura Zone has a set order, which it will in this deck thanks to our Machinery's Factory. We can put this unit into the soul and countercharge 1. giving us Soul Blast power, but more importantly, the countercharge power also. And I also run the 1 copy of Bustling Mechanic Rodney on rearguard. If you have a Vanguard attached this turn, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. And from the back row rearguard, at the end of the battle, your Vanguard with Silhouette and its card name attacked, grade 3 or greater Vanguard. If your front row has no rearguard, Soul Blast 1 and stay on this unit. So it gives you the option to then, after it provides a boost to one of your armed rearguards, to restand it again, to provide the additional boost for it once it's placed onto the rearguard circle again. Also, just the 1 copy though, you have more important cards in the deck like the actual armed units and other necessary countercharge power. So once you have your Bustling Mechanic Rodney set up on the rearguard, you only really need the 1 copy to begin with for this card to add that power. And then for the other grade 1s, the 4 copies of Violate Dragon, just for the Sentinel of choice, just having the option, having both cards in the hand to guard with the 1, and then only having the 1 other copy in your hand, not having to pay the discard cost, and then being able to have a second Sentinel if needed to block 1 more powerful attack your opponent may have. And for the set orders, we're running the 4 copies of the Machinery's Factory. From the order zone, you rest this card, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with armed arms and its card name from among them, reveal it, put it in your hand, and if your drop zone has a card of the same name, and discard it if your drop zone does not. If you put a card into your hand, put this unit into the soul, and shuffle the deck. So it builds up soul power again, but it also is why we are running 4 copies of this card, so we can always have a set order ready to use with it, since you go activate 1 a turn to have 1 placed again afterwards. And from the order zone, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Silhouette in its card name, put this unit into the soul and choose up to 2 cards with armed arm with different card names from your drop zone and call them to open rearguard. So having more options to also choose what you want to do, whether it be the search power or the setup of your armed arms units. And for the last of these set orders, 2 copies of Re-Establishment Dock with this card. You play it with a cost of Counterblast of 1, and when this card is put into the order zone, you draw a card, and all your grade 2 rear guards get boosts. So it's just, if you have the multiple arms, it also has a benefit being a set order to give these additional cards boost if you have other rear guards that you want to attack with, and then have the multiple ones be called to then provide boosts to the ones that you will be equipping onto your Silhouette Arms Vanguard. For the trigger lineup, running the 8 critical, so the 4 copies of the Decker Cop and the 4 copies of Star Aggression Dragon, just for more of the pressure that you can do with your Vanguard attacks, provided running 8 critical. And then also the 3 front trigger for more pressure with the front row rear guard units as well, with this card just being able to provide plus 10 to the front row, so having that additional power for the other units that are ready to attack. And for the heal lineup, the 2 copies of the Cardinal Prima, 1 copy of Lady Healer of the Creaking World, and the 1 Transient Causality for the rest of the heal triggers. And then for the over trigger, the 1 copy of Elder Breath, just more added pressure with our criticals. When we reveal this, it can be a game-winning over trigger if we received a critical trigger beforehand also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. A very interesting deck from the Youthquake series, as I said before, just like the Mythiarch deck. And I hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.